game 3 now between these two excellent players. I'm really excited to see what happens with that. So, based off of this, though, what do you think? What do you think EJK is thinking about in terms of his gameplay and what he's going to want to do in this game to kind of throw Believe's play on its head? Like he definitely wants to come up with something that's a bit new or a little bit odd, or do you think he's going to stick with the tried and true, the stuff that he knows?
I'm thinking he's going to be sticking with what he knows. EJK is very much of a player that likes to practice one sort of build and stick with that, especially for each matchup. And we're going to be going to Coda, and this map is a bit similar to Vani Research Station in the fact that there's a lot of open space here. So going for the mech style could... it's going to be a bit difficult, as getting to 4 bases worth of gas will take quite a while and take a lot of mobility, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of the Hellion harassment. We saw some Reaper harassment, especially since there is a ledge to go up into the main. But for game number 3, we're spawning in here on top of our green Protoss, tying it up 1-1. It is Believe.
In the bottom right corner, playing the blue Terran, we've got EJK, and both players are right off to the races, the SCVs and the probes going right at it immediately. As things stand, though, things are just going to... looks like EJK is checking his lag again. Vehemently. But yeah, as things start up, so you think EJK is going to do the exact same opening. Do you think that Believe's going to do the same deal right now? He's starting off with his pylon right out of the gate as well, and it seems like we're going to be building our supply depot right at the entrance to this base. So... do you think they're gonna you think EJK is gonna go the same build because that's how he plays? What about Believe? Is he the type of person that adapts to the play of his opponents, or is he gonna stay to his ideas that he's had going so far?
Believe can adapt at times, but especially with how this series has been going. In game 1, you know, he made a few decision mistakes, such as letting in all those Marines and Hellions, and that cost him the game. Whereas in game 2, he stuck with what he did, with what he knew, and he took it and ran with it. I feel like he'll be going for a very similar thing, as again, it worked out for him last game. And it's also a very versatile build. Blink Stalkers allow you to do so much with so little.
They really do. They're extremely versatile units. Being able to hit both ground and air, and the mobility that comes out of them is just amazing. I absolutely like any units that blink in any game. I find are a ton of fun to work with and to play with. But when you wrap it into such a versatile, powerful unit like the Stalker, it's a good opening no matter what happens. You really can't go wrong with those things. We have our SCV from EJK casually scouting around, going for a stroll. He's going to bump into the Protoss base in about 6 seconds. He's going to see exactly what he's seen every game so far. Nothing new.
Yeah. And it's the exact same build as game number 2. We've got the first gas right now. We're probably going to be throwing down a Nexus soon, as well as the second gas, and then getting the Mothership Core once the Nexus has started up. And for right now, Probe is just heading over towards the natural, checking to make sure that there isn't any kind of engineering bay, no bunkers, no shenanigans going on there. And on the flip side, EJK, he's got his Reaper out, going to be sending it across. We'll also be throwing down the command center. And as I said, you know, Believe he's going to be throwing down that Nexus, and Mothership Core instantly getting chrono boosted.
Yeah, so that Mothership Core is going to come out right a couple of seconds after this Reaper comes in. So that's going to be good for Believe. And the Reaper doing its best to do some damage first. It's going to end up taking out at least a little bit before it has to back off. It's extremely low, only at 13 HP, and the Mothership Core going to go ahead and make that Reaper just back off for now.
Yeah, and, you know, wasn't able to deal too much damage to the probes, but he was able to get hits on a couple of them, and that's good for when he does come back in. But this Mothership Core, oh, it's actually a little out of position. I thought it was going to keep going.
Yeah, it's a little out of position to say the least. If only the Reaper was aiming at the drones that it attacked the first time. Still no units lost. Reaper's going to have to back off, regenerate, and maybe try again. Meanwhile, back home, another couple of barracks going up. So there's 3 barracks. No factory this time. Not yet. And the Reaper notices that this Nexus is being built. So that's something he knew was going to happen. He's going to come in around the back. He's going to find this probe right here. He knows that's really quite low. A couple of shots later, it's almost going to go down. That Reaper's not going to be able to find that one. Instead, Stalker's going to come out and find the Reaper. He's going to end up taking one probe out on his way back through that cliff ledge, and he's going to be fine. So far, the Reaper's taken out one probe. Is that Is that a worthwhile investment so far with that Reaper, or no?
Only because the Reaper got to stay alive does that make it kind of worthwhile. It's a bit of a toss-up. Pretty much nothing had happened, but, you know, of course, if you go to the Units Lost tab, you have 50 resources lost to 0. So, technically, yes, it was a good trade. And always having that reconnaissance unit out on the map is always nice to have. You can always send it back in later, get another look on things, and it'll add some more DPS into this force. We've got 6 Marines, and more coming up north for EJK. And the natural is pretty undefended. There's a Mothership Core, there's a couple Stalkers out, but they're not quite in the best position right now.
No, and I think that the amount of Marines that EJK has rolling up to this area right now is more than enough to take out whatever defenses are currently scattered about the Protoss base. So that could be a problem, especially once these combat shields come online. These Marines are going to be much tougher to take out. Blink is about 2/3 of the way finished for these Stalkers, so they're not quite in the same area they need to be in order to defend against this. We'll see what happens, but I think that EJK is in a good position to really put the hurt on Believe and what Believe has on the map right now.
Yep. And it looks like the Marines and a couple Marauders as well are going to be heading up into the natural foot. An overcharge should be going down soon on the Nexus. It does. And these Marines are going to be able to walk actually straight up into the main ramp. Only 4 Stalkers here. That's not anywhere near enough to deal with this force. The Reaper also going to be coming in to try and deal damage on some of these probes. Starting to target down the Nexus and the Stalkers, switching between the two as much as possible. Kills off the Warping In unit as well. And right now, there's no mining going on in the main base. This is very good for EJK. Even if he isn't able to kill too much, he's at least prevented a lot of economy from going for our Protoss player. Both Observers also going to be getting taken out. The Stalkers heavily damaged. And right now, those probes, they're all on their lonesome. But the Reaper going to be dropping down in towards the natural. Going to start targeting a couple more probes. Marines trying to kill off as many Stalkers as possible. Now going to be going for the probes. Reaper comes up into the main. And still going to be going at it.
Yeah, and so far it's going to end up taking one more probe before finally dying. At the end of that, 25 Protoss units gone. I'm thinking a good chunk of them were probes, which is a huge problem. It's only 15 Terran units. That's 1,800 minerals to only 950. A very worthwhile trade for EJK. This is looking a lot like Game 1 right now, where EJK got a significant resource advantage early game and then just proceeded to crush Believe in Game 1. But Game 1 is a very different game than Game 3. We'll see what the Protoss player, what Believe does here, but what do you think that Believe is going to do to try to come back out of this? He needs to find something that's efficient against what he knows he's dealing with.
Well, it looks like he's still going to be trying to go for some kind of blink harassment. He's sending his Stalkers across the map. He does have a Warp Prism this time around, however, but he's not going to be able to just walk right up the ramp here as he was trying to do. There are 2 bunkers with a Marauder in one of them, and he's not really going to be able to blink up into the main either, as the Bio is waiting there for something to arrive. And I feel like maybe just taking a step back, sitting back, and just trying to build back up an economy, because he does have the greater income right now, might be a good choice. He's got his Double Forge on the way, as well as the Robotics Bay. Just getting up some Colossi, getting an upgrade or 2, would definitely allow him to equalize a lot easier compared to trying to go for harassment and equalize that way.
Yeah, and it seems like, despite the fact that there are slightly more SCVs, like you said, the income is higher for Believe, which is remarkable, actually, all things considered. I can't exactly explain why that is, but that's really good for our Protoss player. He's going to be able to actually stand toe-to-toe, one hopes, with the army that's coming his way. He manages to scout it out and see what's coming. The Stalkers, obviously very mobile. They're not going to get taken out by this force, not yet. But they're going to go ahead and back off. Now Believe knows what he's dealing with. I don't know what he's going to build to. But it seems like he's building a ton more gateways to be able to deal with whatever's coming. He's going to build a Colossus out of his robotic space. That's a pretty good start, but one Colossus does not an army make. He's going to need at least more than one, because the last time he had one Colossus, it just was not enough.
Yep, and, you know, again, does not have the Thermal Lance on that Colossus either. The Warp Prism did go into the main, was not able to deal too much damage, but we've got a huge Bioforce on the way. 2 Sentries are going to be coming out. It's not going to be enough to force field this entire ramp quite yet. Actually, never mind, they just got enough energy to be able to do such a task, but force fields will go down. We'll be able to cut off quite a bit of that army. It does actually cut it in half, and the Colossus still without any damage taken. A second one on the way. 1-1 is also very close to finishing. If that comes out, that would be a huge boon for Believe, as he'll be able to deal more damage with the lesser units. And right now, he really needs it.
He definitely does. Look at the size of this army. There are so many Marines and Marauders that are ready to wreck what Believe has here. But there are 2 Colossuses. This might be enough to actually do some significant damage. The Stalker's doing a good job of eating up the majority of the Terran's bullets. In they come. A lot more lasers coming out. The Stalker's being chewed apart. One of the Colossi goes down. The Marines, however, still incredibly healthy thanks to those medevacs, and they're going to start going to town on this Nexus. Taking a lot of damage. Now it's taking some real damage. The second Colossus goes down. The Stalkers are trying to pick off Marauders on the left side. The Nexus is going to end up going down. The Marauders getting picked up by the medevacs to try to save the Marauders before they end up dying. And they all, whatever's left gets picked up into the medevacs. The medevacs are now dropping their payload before they explode, and then dropping them again, picking them up. That's a weird strategy, but it ended up working out really, really well. 3 Marauders make it out of there alive. None of the medevacs go down. And that was a really even trade, all things... Actually, that was a really good trade, sorry, for the Terrans, as they managed to take out not only a couple of Colossi and a lot of Stalkers, but they end up taking out the Nexus. And that's going to spell the game and the match for EJK. That was just too much for Belief to handle, and that's gonna be the game in EJK's hands. That was impressive. That was really good play out of EJK.
Indeed it was. Just making all the correct decisions, Believe, unfortunately, trying to go over very greedy kind of builds. They aren't the kind where you'll be safe in the early game. As it was shown, you know, Thermal Lance was delayed just a bit than what he may have wanted, and on top of all of that, you know, he almost had that, but then what ended up happening is there was this one wood of mine underneath all of the bio that Believe didn't account for. So when the bio retreated and his army went forward, the wood of mine just took a shot off, and a lot of the Stalkers took shield damage. One of the Colossi took a lot of shield damage as well. So the bio immediately went back in and then just cleaned up whatever was left. And as you said, that spelled the match for EJK. So he's going to be going on in towards the winner's semis. And of course, EJK is our one American invader this tournament. We're going to have to see. You know, Believe, I was thinking he was going to be maybe the one that knocks him out, but we'll have to see. Maybe someone else is going to be the ones to put him down into the losers bracket. But, of course, you know, we are here for TorCraft Cup, and today's tournament, first place gets free entry into next weekend's Radeon Extravaganza presented by ESChamp. It is going to be taking place at Hunter and Lucas Esports Club. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got StarCraft 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Dota 2, a lot of free things, because there is a lot of sponsors. Of course, AMD Radeon being one of them, and we'll be giving away some AMD Radeon graphics cards. If you go to eschamp.com/giveaway, you can sign up for that. Of course, you have to be at the venue for that. But,
yeah,
you know, AMD, they help a lot of ESChamp's events. They make some good quality product for your computer as well. If you go to game.amd.com, you can find out more about their RAM and SSDs. And I believe we're going to be going to look for another match, Slow Wolf. So,
well, that's good. I'm excited. If it's anything like the matches that we just saw right now, I'm excited. These are some really good games. I'm really happy to have seen what went on there. Believe now being locked into the lower bracket, so we'll see him again, I'm sure. But for now, EJK, moving forward. What's the and we're gonna move on to the next match with whatever's got left. So
it looks like it's going to be the other side of the bracket in winner semis. Steadfast versus Zero should be a good treat. It's going to be a TVZ this time around. Be sure to stay tuned, because we've got a lot more StarCraft on the way.